juicy.
Tender Crackers ham makes delicious party platters and sandwiches.
Let's make some fun.
Are we gonna make ripples?
Tucked between stained pages and scribbled notes, church cookbooks held more than food. They held stories, pride, and the warmth of 100 potlucks. They're simple, sacred, and once you taste them, you'll understand why they were never just meals. The 7-Up salad mold is one of those dishes that screams retro comfort. Picture it, a lime gelatin base that sets into a vibrant green, then layered with pineapple, cottage cheese, and topped off with lemon-lime soda. The bubbles from the soda bring a unique fizz that perfectly balances the sweetness of the fruit and the richness of the cheese. Often served chilled, this dish was a church staple for potlucks, family reunions, and holiday gatherings, bringing an unexpected burst of flavor to the table. It might sound a little strange at first, but trust us, once you try it, you'll understand why it disappeared so quickly at every gathering. And speaking of comfort, there's another dish that was just as beloved for its creamy goodness and warmth. Stay tuned for the dish that's known to make any grieving heart feel just a little better. Funeral potatoes have earned their name for a reason. This cheesy, creamy hash brown casserole has long been a comforting dish at church gatherings, especially when times are tough. Combining crispy hash browns with a velvety sauce made of cream of chicken soup, sour cream, and shredded cheese, it's the kind of dish that wraps you in warmth with each bite. The top gets wonderfully golden and crispy, while the inside stays creamy and indulgent. While it's often brought to funeral luncheons to offer comfort to those in mourning, it's a dish that is delicious enough for any occasion. No need to wait for a somber event. Funeral potatoes make an excellent side dish to serve with nearly any meal. And if you think this casserole is rich, just wait until you see what's coming next. Another comforting classic that's just as good for family dinners as it is for a church potluck. Hot chicken salad casserole is everything you want in a comfort food. It's got shredded chicken, creamy mayo, crunchy celery, and potato chips on top for that satisfying crunch that you can't get enough of. This casserole might have started as a church recipe, but it's made its way into countless family kitchens across the country, becoming a staple for any gathering. The creaminess from the mayo blends perfectly with the crunchy texture of the potato chips, making every bite feel like a cozy hug. This dish can be thrown together quickly, baked until golden, and served hot, perfect for busy nights when you need something simple yet satisfying. Whether it's a quick weeknight meal or a potluck favorite, hot chicken salad casserole always gets rave reviews. And if you think this is a crowd pleaser, there's another dish on the horizon that's a little surprising but just as tasty. Grape jelly meatballs. Yes, you read that right. These sticky sweet meatballs have been a church potluck legend for decades, and though it might sound like an odd combination, it's one that's impossible to resist. The meatballs are simmered in a rich sauce made from grape jelly and chili sauce, creating a perfect balance of sweet and tangy flavors that you can't help but go back for more of. Every church gathering seemed to have a dish or two that disappeared faster than the others, and these grape jelly meatballs were always at the top of the list. Served hot and with toothpicks for easy eating, they're the perfect appetizer for any event. Despite their simplicity, the combination of flavors has earned them a special place in many hearts. And just when you think you've seen all the unique salads and casseroles, there's one more dish that combines sweetness and a bit of nostalgia. Stay tuned for the next one. Pink fluff salad is a dish that never fails to evoke memories of church potlucks, family picnics, and holiday celebrations. It's a dessert disguised as a salad, but don't let that fool you. It's all sweetness and fun. The dish combines Cool Whip, cherry pie filling, crushed pineapple, and marshmallows, creating a fluffy, creamy texture that's as fun to eat as it is to look at. It's a delightful pink color that's as cheerful as it is delicious, and it's the kind of dish you always look forward to at church functions. Despite its sugary nature, pink fluff salad has a certain lightness to it, making it the perfect end to a meal, or even a snack all on its own. It's a nostalgic classic that's been passed down through generations. And speaking of dishes that bring joy to any table, there's one more beloved recipe that pairs perfectly with your next meal. Coming up next, a dish that combines savory with sweet in the most unexpected way. Cornbread pudding, the perfect hybrid of savory and sweet, takes cornbread to a whole new level. This casserole-style dish features a custardy texture, with the comforting cornbread flavor acting as a base. Whether you're serving it as a side dish or a dessert, it's versatile enough to fit in any meal. Some versions are made with a rich, buttery sauce that soaks into the cornbread, adding depth to the flavor. Others might include a touch of sweetness, thanks to ingredients like brown sugar or maple syrup, creating a delightful balance of flavors. It's the kind of dish that's perfect for big gatherings, offering a taste of home and nostalgia with each bite. And just when you think this is the perfect combination of textures, there's a dish waiting to take comfort food to the next level. Stay tuned for the next unforgettable recipe. Velveeta cheese soup is the epitome of comfort food, especially during the colder months when the chill seems to settle in and linger. This velvety, creamy soup was often served in simple coffee mugs during midweek church services, bringing warmth and satisfaction to anyone who walked through those church doors. Made with Velveeta cheese, a staple in many church kitchens, this soup has a smooth, indulgent texture that melts in your mouth with every spoonful. It's a no-fuss recipe that's packed with flavor, perfect for feeding a crowd on a budget. The cheesy richness is complemented by the occasional splash of milk or broth, making it a cozy meal for anyone who needed a pick-me-up in the middle of the week. And while this soup was always a hit, there's another dish that takes its tangy twist and adds a whole new layer of flavor. Stay tuned to discover the next surprising recipe. Macaroni salad with pickles and Miracle Whip is a dish that defined many church picnics and potlucks in the 20th century. The combination of elbow macaroni, sweet pickles, and the tangy zip of Miracle Whip dressing made this dish a beloved classic. It was the perfect side to complement the heavier casseroles and meats often found at these gatherings. The sweet pickles added a burst of flavor that balanced the creamy dressing, while the macaroni provided that comforting base that everyone loved. Each bite of this macaroni salad is a mix of textures and flavors, from the crunch of the pickles to the smooth creaminess of the dressing. Whether served as a side or even as a standalone dish, macaroni salad with pickles and Miracle Whip was a crowd pleaser. But if you think this tangy delight was the highlight, wait until you experience the cool, sweet dish that followed this trend. Coming up next, Heavenly Hash, a chilled dish that captured the essence of nostalgia, was a favorite at church functions, especially in the summertime. This simple yet delightful mix of fruit cocktail, mini marshmallows, coconut, and sour cream was a creamy, sweet treat that brought everyone back to the good old days. It was the perfect dessert to bring to a church potluck, offering a refreshing and light dish that could be enjoyed on a warm afternoon. Despite its simplicity, Heavenly Hash had a way of surprising people with its comforting combination of flavors and textures. The fruit cocktail added a juicy sweetness, while the marshmallows provided just the right amount of softness. The coconut brought a subtle chewiness, and the sour cream tied it all together, adding a tangy balance. This dish was the kind of recipe that, once tasted, was never forgotten. But if you're looking for another unexpected twist on comfort food, there's a sweet savory casserole up next that will surely make you rethink pineapple in a whole new way. Pineapple cheese casserole is one of those dishes that seems a bit strange at first, but once you take that first bite, you'll be hooked. The sweet, tangy pineapple chunks pair surprisingly well with the sharp, savory cheddar cheese, creating a perfect blend of sweet and savory that you didn't know you needed. Often served as a side dish, this casserole combines the richness of cheese with the brightness of pineapple, making it a unique and flavorful addition to any meal. Whether served alongside ham or roasted chicken, pineapple cheese casserole always stood out at church potlucks for its ability to balance flavors that normally wouldn't go together. It's sweet, it's cheesy, and it's downright delicious. And as surprising as this dish may seem, there's another salad coming up that layers together ingredients in a way that you won't want to miss. Get ready for a dish that will bring even more excitement to the table. Layered pea salad might not have gotten the attention it deserved, but once you tasted it, you understood its appeal. This salad is all about layering, from the crispness of the peas to the creamy dressing, the crunchy bacon, and the sweetness of the onions. Every bite offers a perfect balance of flavors and textures. It's the kind of dish that brings everyone back for seconds, especially when the layers are built just right. The peas provide a subtle sweetness and pop, while the mayo-based dressing binds everything together in a way that makes the salad feel indulgent, despite its simplicity. It's a salad that works well for any occasion, but especially for those summer church picnics when you need a dish that can stand up to the heat and still taste great. And speaking of cool, refreshing salads, there's one more dish on the way that brings all the sweet and savory flavors into a gorgeous combination. Stay tuned for the next recipe. Chicken spaghetti bake is a dish that perfectly combines comfort and convenience, making it a favorite at church gatherings, especially in the South. This creamy, cheesy, slightly spicy baked spaghetti comes together quickly, thanks to the magic of canned soup, and it's loaded with everything you love: tender chicken, hearty pasta, and a luscious sauce. Often topped with a layer of cheese that melts into a golden, bubbly topping, this dish has been passed down through generations, showing up on church potluck tables and family dinners alike. The flavor is rich but not overwhelming, with just the right amount of spice to add a kick without making it too hot for the crowd. It's a dish that feeds a lot and satisfies even the pickiest eaters. If you think this cheesy casserole is the ultimate comfort food, though, wait until you experience another classic that's just as delicious but with a bit of a sweet twist. Coming up next. Old-fashioned stewed apples is the kind of dish that evokes instant nostalgia. Slow cooked to perfection with cinnamon, butter, and brown sugar, these apples fill the house with a warm, comforting aroma that instantly transports you back to simpler times. Served in classic glass Pyrex dishes, this sweet, tender dessert was often found at church picnics and family gatherings where it was a reliable crowd pleaser. The apples soften as they cook, absorbing all the flavors of the cinnamon and brown sugar, creating a syrupy, rich sauce that you could almost drink by itself. It's a dish that doesn't need to be fancy to be loved, just the right balance of sweet and spicy, with that home-cooked, heartwarming feeling. It's perfect on its own, or as a topping for ice cream or pound cake. But if you think stewed apples are the ultimate comfort dessert, there's a salad coming up that has just as much nostalgic value. Stay tuned for the next dish. Liver and onions with brown gravy is one of those forgotten classics that was once the centerpiece of many Sunday suppers. Yes, it might not be the most popular dish today, but it was a beloved favorite for generations. The rich, earthy taste of the liver paired perfectly with the savory brown gravy, while the onions added a bit of sweetness and texture to balance out the flavors. Some grandmothers swore by this dish, preparing it for Sunday family meals, where it was often served alongside mashed potatoes and vegetables. Though it may be seen as an acquired taste for those who loved it, liver and onions were a comforting, satisfying meal. The recipe was simple but effective, showcasing the beauty of slow cooking and rich flavors. And just when you thought we'd covered all the forgotten classics, there's another gelatin dish on the way that might just surprise you. Keep reading for the next recipe. Tomato aspic is one of those dishes that many people have strong feelings about. Either you loved it or you dreaded seeing it on the table. A savory gelatin mold made with tomato juice, celery, and spices, tomato aspic is a dish that was often served at church luncheons and family gatherings. The texture of the gelatin, combined with the sharpness of the tomato and the subtle crunch of celery, made for a unique flavor profile that was often polarizing. Yet, for those who appreciated it, tomato aspic was an elegant way to serve a chilled side dish that felt just a little fancier than a typical salad. It might have been a bit of a hard sell at first glance, but once people started eating it, they understood its appeal. If you can appreciate the charm of this quirky dish, you're going to love the next sweet and creamy salad that brings a whole new meaning to the word heavenly. Tuna noodle casserole with crushed chips was the ultimate budget-friendly, pantry-stretching weeknight meal that saved many busy families. Made with canned tuna, noodles, and a creamy sauce, this dish was easy to assemble and always satisfying. The real magic came with the topping, crushed potato chips sprinkled over the casserole, giving it that perfect crunch that made every bite so delicious. It's the kind of dish that's simple but never boring, offering a comforting blend of flavors that everyone could enjoy. This casserole was a go-to for busy parents who wanted a meal that could feed a crowd without breaking the bank. It's a meal that's been passed down through the years, often showing up at church events and potlucks. And while this casserole might be the perfect weeknight dinner, there's a sweet, creamy salad coming next that will add a touch of magic to any table. Stay tuned for the next nostalgic favorite. Ambrosia salad is one of those desserts that could brighten up any gathering. A perfect blend of fruit, marshmallows, and a creamy dressing. It's a dish that embodies everything we love about classic church potluck food: sweet, refreshing, and easy to make. Whether it's served at Christmas dinners, family picnics, or Sunday services, Ambrosia salad always brings a sense of celebration to the table. The mixture of fruits like mandarin oranges and pineapple combined with mini marshmallows creates a colorful and festive dish that everyone loves. The creamy dressing, often made with sour cream or whipped topping, ties it all together, adding just the right amount of sweetness. It's a dish that can be thrown together in minutes but still feels special. And if you think Ambrosia salad is a fun way to end a meal, wait until you try the next dish, a sweet, fruity classic that's just as delicious. Beef stroganoff with cream of mushroom soup is the dish that gave the classic Russian favorite a distinctly American twist. Instead of delicate beef cuts and fancy sauces, this version relied on hearty ground beef, creamy soup, and simple ingredients that church kitchens could whip up with ease. The cream of mushroom soup served as the base for the sauce, turning what could have been a labor-intensive dish into something fast, flavorful, and family-friendly. It was typically baked in a casserole dish, making it easy to serve a crowd and paired perfectly with egg noodles or rice. While this casserole version might not have been what you'd find in a high-end Russian restaurant, it became an enduring comfort food staple in American church kitchens. If you think this dish hits all the right notes of creamy and savory, wait until you taste the sweet, tangy pie coming up next. It's a Southern classic that's sure to please. Buttermilk pie is one of those Southern desserts that doesn't get the attention it deserves, but should. Made from pantry staples like buttermilk, eggs, and sugar, this pie is sweet and tangy with a custardy texture that's both light and rich. The combination of buttermilk and sugar gives it a balance of flavors that's simply irresistible. Unlike some other pies that require elaborate ingredients, buttermilk pie is a testament to Southern know-how, proving that you don't need fancy ingredients to make something delicious. It's the kind of dessert that you'd find cooling on the windowsill after church service, ready to be sliced and served with a cup of coffee. With a light golden crust and a smooth filling, buttermilk pie has remained a beloved dish in Southern kitchens. And if you think this classic pie is all you need to finish off a meal, there's another nostalgic finger sandwich that was always a hit at church gatherings. Stay tuned for the next dish. Egg salad on white bread with paprika is one of the quintessential church finger sandwiches, served at baby showers, church teas, and family picnics. The classic combo of creamy egg salad, a touch of mayonnaise, and just the right amount of paprika, all nestled between two slices of soft white bread, was a staple at any church event. The eggs were chopped finely, blended with creamy mayo, and seasoned simply with salt, pepper, and paprika to create the perfect balance of flavor. The paprika on top added a gentle kick, making it more than just a simple sandwich. It was a true classic. Light, flavorful, and easy to eat with one hand, this sandwich always disappeared quickly at any gathering. If you think these finger sandwiches are the ultimate church snack, there's another spread that's even more irresistible, one that's perfect for crackers, celery, or even more sandwiches. Get ready for the next dish. Pimento cheese spread is a Southern favorite that found its way into almost every church kitchen, making an appearance at picnics, church lunches, and family gatherings. This creamy, cheesy spread combines sharp cheddar cheese with diced pimentos, mayonnaise, and a touch of seasoning to create a rich, tangy, and slightly sweet spread that's perfect for just about anything. Whether it was slathered on crackers, served as a dip for celery, or spread thick on white bread triangles, pimento cheese spread was a go-to appetizer that could be made in minutes and was loved by all. The combination of sharp cheddar and mild pimentos was simple yet delicious, offering a comforting flavor that no one could resist. It's the kind of dish that became a tradition in many church kitchens, passed down from one generation to the next. And speaking of spreads, the next dish brings a surprising sweetness to the table, a cake that's rich in history and flavor. Stay tuned. Molasses stack cake is one of those desserts that's both simple and deeply nostalgic, especially in the Southern church tradition. This cake is made with layers of spiced molasses-flavored cake, stacked high and often filled with a sweet apple butter or fruit preserves. The deep, rich flavor of molasses shines through, creating a cake that's perfect for any occasion, but especially for gatherings where people appreciate homemade, heartfelt dishes. Each layer is tender, yet sturdy enough to hold the sweet filling in place, making it a treat that's both satisfying and easy to eat. The flavor of molasses adds a warmth and depth that you don't get from typical sweet cakes, and the texture is moist without being overly heavy. Often made for church picnics, weddings, or holiday dinners, this cake has a way of bringing everyone together over a slice. And while this molasses cake might be a perfect ending to any meal, there's one more classic dessert on the way that offers a touch of sweetness and nostalgia. Stay tuned. Chicken and dumplings from scratch is the kind of dish that defines comfort food for a generation. Imagine fluffy, biscuit-like dumplings soaking in a rich, flavorful chicken broth, each bite offering warmth and heartiness. This dish wasn't just about the taste, it was about the feeling it gave you. Made from scratch, the dumplings were tender, soft, and light, unlike anything you could get from a store-bought mix. The broth was rich with the essence of slow-cooked chicken, herbs, and vegetables, offering a depth of flavor that made this meal feel like a warm hug. For many, chicken and dumplings was a Sunday supper tradition, served with a side of cornbread and enjoyed with the family gathered around the table. If you think this dish defines comfort, there's another dessert coming up that takes the concept of easy and delicious to a whole new level. Stay tuned for the next treat. Peach dump cake is the ultimate no-fuss dessert that's perfect for any gathering, especially church potlucks and family picnics. The recipe is as simple as it sounds. Canned peaches, yellow cake mix, and a stick of butter, all dumped into a pan and baked until golden and bubbly. The peaches soften and meld with the cake mix, creating a rich, syrupy base that's both sweet and comforting. The cake mix forms a crumbly topping that's slightly crisp, adding texture to the dish and balancing the softness of the peaches underneath. The best part? It's incredibly easy to make, and yet it tastes like it took much more effort. Peach dump cake is a perfect dessert when you need something quick, delicious, and crowd-pleasing. It's warm, sweet, and always brings a sense of nostalgia, reminding everyone of simpler times when desserts were just as much about convenience as they were about flavor. Whether served on its own or with a scoop of vanilla ice cream, this dessert is a classic. And if you think this is the best way to end a meal, wait until you see the next dish, a casserole that's hearty, flavorful, and incredibly satisfying. Cabbage roll casserole takes the beloved classic cabbage rolls and transforms them into an easier, more accessible version without sacrificing any of the delicious flavors. Instead of rolling individual cabbage leaves, everything is layered into a casserole dish, making preparation faster and cleanup easier. Ground beef, rice, and cabbage come together in a savory tomato sauce, creating a hearty, satisfying meal that's perfect for any occasion. The cabbage becomes tender and flavorful, while the ground beef adds richness, and the rice provides a comforting texture. The tomato sauce ties everything together, offering a slightly tangy, savory note that elevates the dish. Cabbage roll casserole has been a staple in many homes for its ability to feed a large group without requiring hours of preparation. It's the kind of dish that's perfect for church dinners, family gatherings, or even a simple weeknight meal. Whether served with a side of cornbread or a fresh salad, it's always a hit. And if you think this casserole is the ultimate comfort food, stay tuned for the next recipe, a sweet treat that's just as nostalgic and satisfying. Cheesy grits with green chilies is the ultimate comfort food, especially when it's served on a Wednesday night at the church rec hall. This Southern classic combines the rich, creamy texture of grits with the bold kick of green chilies, creating a dish that's both comforting and full of flavor. The grits are cooked until soft and creamy, then mixed with sharp melting cheese that gives each bite a savory richness. The green chilies add just the right amount of spice, turning this simple dish into something extraordinary. Cheesy grits with green chilies has long been a favorite for breakfast for dinner nights, where it can stand on its own or be paired with a variety of other dishes. It's a perfect side dish, offering a spicy, cheesy complement to meats and vegetables alike. The warmth and comfort of the grits, along with the pop of heat from the chiles, make this dish a satisfying choice for any occasion. Whether served with fried chicken, sausage, or as a hearty meal on its own, it's always a crowd pleaser. If you think this Southern classic is the perfect addition to any table, wait until you see the next dessert. A sweet cake that's equally rich and irresistible. Coconut sheet cake with pecan frosting is one of those desserts that defines indulgence. This cake is soft and fluffy, with the subtle sweetness of coconut permeating every bite. The cake itself is made with coconut milk, which keeps it moist and tender, while shredded coconut adds texture and flavor. The real magic, however, comes from the pecan frosting. Made with butter, sugar, and plenty of chopped pecans, this frosting is rich, nutty, and wonderfully sweet. It's spread generously over the top of the cake, creating a deliciously crunchy contrast to the soft, moist cake below. Coconut sheet cake with pecan frosting is often served at church events, family reunions, and special occasions, where its rich flavor and beautiful texture make it the perfect showstopper. The cake is easy to make in a sheet pan, making it ideal for feeding a crowd, and its flavor is universally loved. Whether it's for a birthday celebration or a holiday gathering, this cake is sure to be a hit. If you think this sweet, nutty dessert is the perfect way to end a meal, wait until you try the next recipe, a treat that combines flavors in a way you never thought possible. Stay tuned for more. Ham loaf with pineapple glaze is one of those dishes that might seem a bit out of the ordinary at first, but once you taste it, it's easy to see why it became a beloved tradition, especially in Midwest congregations. Think of it as a meatloaf, but instead of the usual beef, you've got ground ham, giving the dish a lighter, pinkish hue and a slightly sweeter flavor. The pineapple glaze, with its bright and tangy sweetness, adds a beautiful contrast to the savory richness of the ham. It's an odd combination, but somehow it works perfectly. Served during church potlucks, family gatherings, and community events, ham loaf with pineapple glaze became a standout dish on many a dinner table. While it might not have been a typical recipe for the average home cook, it was undeniably a crowd pleaser. The balance of savory and sweet made it the perfect comfort food for any occasion. If you thought this dish was an unusual twist on a classic, wait until you discover the next recipe. It's a sweet, spiced bread that's as moist as it is satisfying, and a favorite that nearly every church lady has up her sleeve. Stay tuned for more! Zucchini bread with walnuts and cloves is one of those recipes that was passed down from church lady to church lady. A staple at church bake sales, family gatherings, and Sunday services, this moist, spiced bread has been a favorite for decades. The zucchini adds a subtle moisture, making it tender and soft without being too sweet. The walnuts give it a satisfying crunch, while the cloves bring a warm, aromatic spice that complements the other ingredients perfectly. While zucchini bread might sound like a healthy dessert, after all, there's a vegetable in it, it's also indulgent in its own right. The bread has a natural sweetness and a comforting flavor that makes it perfect for breakfast, a snack, or a dessert. The combination of ingredients makes it feel like a healthier option compared to many other sweet treats, but don't be fooled. Its flavor is just as rich and satisfying as any cake. Whether served alongside coffee, tea, or as a standalone treat, zucchini bread with walnuts and cloves holds a special place in many hearts. If you think this spiced bread is a winner, you won't want to miss the next recipe, a drink that's bubbly, sweet, and perfect for any occasion. Revival Punch is a drink that brings a bit of nostalgia to any gathering, and it has a special place in church kitchens and family parties. This classic punch is made with just 2 ingredients, sherbet and ginger ale. But somehow, this simple combination creates a magical, bubbly, and creamy concoction that everyone loves. The sherbet, usually orange or lime, melts into the ginger ale, creating a frothy, smooth texture that's refreshingly sweet with a little zing from the ginger ale. This drink was often served at church socials, holiday parties, and family gatherings, offering a cool, fizzy treat that's perfect for large crowds. The sweetness of the sherbet pairs perfectly with the carbonation of the ginger ale, making it a drink that feels both light and indulgent at the same time. Revival punch is not just a drink, but a tradition that has been passed down through generations, providing a fun and festive atmosphere wherever it's served. It's a nostalgic favorite that always brings people back for seconds. If you thought this drink was the perfect refresher, you'll love the next treat. A sweet dessert that's as comforting as it is irresistible. Stay tuned for more delicious nostalgia. In the 20th century, church picnics were more than gatherings. They were culinary showcases, where simple ingredients turned into unforgettable creations. Among these was a dish that perfectly embodied practicality and crowd-pleasing charm, the hot dog crowned with creamy coleslaw. Born in the South, where coleslaw was practically a religion, this combination united two beloved staples into a handheld masterpiece. It was cheap, easy to assemble, and had the rare gift of tasting just as good warm as it did after sitting out for a hymn or two. The versatility of this dish made it a picnic powerhouse. Whether paired with smoky barbecue sauces or left unadorned, the coleslaw added crunch, tang, and a cool contrast to the savory hot dog. It was the kind of recipe where you didn't need a culinary degree, just a willingness to roll up your sleeves and pile it high. Kids loved it. Adults appreciated its simplicity, and even the most novice cooks could pull it off. But as convenience foods grew in popularity, fresh coleslaw recipes fell by the wayside. Pre-packaged sides and fast food chains stole the spotlight, leaving the Salvation slaw dog behind. Frogeye salad, on the other hand, is something that came right out of the middle half of the 20th century. Now, I'm not too sure where people really got this one from. I mean, you'd think it came right from some community shacked up outside a swamp. Strangely enough, no frogs were harmed in the making of this plate of food. Instead, there's this specific kind of pasta they use. It's called acini di pepe, and it's this really small, almost bubbly-looking pasta that apparently has a pretty striking similarity to frog eyes once you cook it and bring all of it together. Now, a typical frogeye salad takes this pasta, puts in some whipped cream, pineapples, oranges, and coconut, and then it's chilled. You kind of want to picture something similar to tapioca or the texture of boba. It's a pretty unique dish, and if you start going through some cookbooks that had their peak sales during the 1950s, you'll definitely find this. For two reasons. One, it was just one of the most perfect salads to go with your potluck. Two, potluck culture as a whole was really on the rise. By the mid-20th century, desserts had begun embracing an unlikely star: whipped toppings. The faithful fluff salad was no exception. A mixture of pineapple chunks, instant pudding mix, mini marshmallows, and whipped topping. This dessert was as much a texture experiment as it was a sugary indulgence. Emerging during the 1950s and 60s, fluff salads rode the wave of post-war prosperity. Processed foods like instant pudding and canned fruit were symbols of modernity and time-saving innovation, making them ideal for busy families and church potlucks. Adding marshmallows, initially a campfire treats, brought a playful twist that appealed to children and adults alike. For many, it was a dish that straddled the line between fun and functional. But as the health-conscious trends of the 1980s took hold, this sugar-loaded dessert began to lose its charm. Critics pointed to its processed ingredients and lack of nutritional value, relegating it to fond memories of a more carefree era. Despite its decline, the faithful fluff salad remains a snapshot of its time, a reminder of when culinary creativity meant combining unlikely ingredients to bring a smile to the faces of churchgoers and potluck attendees alike. The late 1980s and early 1990s brought a new wave of potluck stars to church picnics, and virtuous vegetable pizza squares quickly claimed a spot near the top. With a flaky crescent roll crust, a tangy ranch-seasoned cream cheese base, and a colorful array of diced fresh vegetables, this dish was as visually appealing as it was satisfying. It struck a balance between indulgence and health, offering a lighter option without sacrificing flavor, a rare feat on a picnic table laden with heavy casseroles and desserts. The practicality of this dish was a major reason for its popularity. The recipe was straightforward, the ingredients were affordable, and the end result could be made ahead of time and served cold. This made it perfect for picnics, where refrigeration wasn't always guaranteed. It was also highly customizable. Broccoli, carrots, peppers, or even a sprinkle of cheese allowed for personal touches, ensuring it could cater to nearly any palate. So, why did these savory squares fade into the background? Part of the reason lies in the rise of pre-packaged veggie trays and dips, which offered a quicker, less labor-intensive alternative. Additionally, the appeal of ranch-flavored dishes has waned over the years as food trends shifted. With baked nectarine chicken salad, you had two things, a few aspects that were really important and simple. These parts of the dish were crucial if you wanted to nail it right. The baked chicken, for example, was a really touch-and-go situation. It was so easy for people to over-season it or under-season it, which would often lead to chicken that didn't sit well with the nectarines. Mostly, people would use chicken breasts and thighs so that their flavors could bounce off of everything else while the meat itself would be soft and chewable. This was only boosted by the fact that it was marinated and then rubbed in a lot of herb mixes built to work with nectarines. The fruit themselves have a pretty natural sweetness to them that gives them a unique texture. If you bake them, they sort of soften, and that gives them an entirely new layer of texture and flavor. The nuts and cheese, plus the dressing, are small side elements, but they take a lot of attention to detail to shine. You want to toast the almonds just until they're slightly crunchy, and no more. Goat cheese works best here, or blue cheese if you can't find any. The dressing, a light vinaigrette, is probably the most important part. This is what will decide whether all these otherwise conflicting ingredients come together. It's a funny world, isn't it? A spaghetti pie casserole is somehow easier to make than a simple baked chicken salad. But well, that's the level of skill the recipe wants out of you. In the mid-20th century, prunes enjoyed a moment in the culinary spotlight, and desserts like prune whip became surprisingly popular at gatherings. Light, airy, and subtly sweet, this dish combined stewed prunes with whipped egg whites to create a mousse-like treat that balanced indulgence with a touch of practicality. While it may not sound like the belle of the potluck table today, in its time, it was a creative way to transform a pantry staple into an elegant dessert. Prunes, or dried plums, were widely appreciated for their affordability and long shelf life. They were particularly common in post-war cooking, where resourceful homemakers turned simple ingredients into inventive recipes. With the rise of gelatin-based desserts, prune whip fit right into the trend of light, fluffy textures. It also offered a surprising nutritional bonus. Prunes were, and still are, known for their digestive benefits, making this dessert as functional as it was flavorful. By the late 20th century, however, prune whip fell out of favor. Healthier eating didn't hurt it. Marketing did. Prunes became saddled with a reputation as grandma food, overshadowing their versatility. In an era when practicality reigned supreme, shepherd's picnic pie became a go-to dish for outdoor gatherings. Inspired by traditional meat pies with roots in British cuisine, this portable hand pie featured a savory filling of seasoned ground beef, onions, and potatoes, all tucked into a golden, flaky crust. Perfectly sized for individual portions, these pies were as functional as they were flavorful, designed to be eaten without the need for plates or utensils. The appeal of these pies went beyond convenience. They were a testament to the resourcefulness of home cooks who found ways to stretch simple ingredients into a satisfying meal. The filling could be easily customized. Add peas or carrots for extra vegetables, or swap ground beef for whatever meat was on hand. The crust, often made with pantry staples like flour and lard, added a rich, buttery element that tied everything together. So what caused these hearty hand pies to disappear from picnic tables? The rise of fast food and pre-packaged snacks overshadowed time-intensive homemade recipes. As society moved toward grab-and-go convenience, the labor of rolling dough and assembling pies became less appealing. Gorgonzola-baked polenta is a curious little thing. It's something that's so inherently Italian you can't separate it from its roots, no matter how hard you try. It's made from peasant meals that really prioritized making recipes out of corn because it was one of the crops that was the easiest to grow. So you couldn't really take away its corn-based roots from it. Polenta was a key part of most of the diets of the first few waves of Italians that came on over to America. It's definitely evolved and lost its original essence a bit, but cornmeal is still a strong part of the dish. Gorgonzola, as intimidating as that sounds, is actually just a blue cheese that comes from Italy. It's something people make with cow's milk, and it has a really distinct texture compared to other cheeses. It's a part of what gives polenta its creamy, rich texture that makes it such a standout. Polenta traditionally was always made on the stove. In America, however, people started to bake it instead, and baked polenta was a bit different. They even switched up the cheeses, using Parmesan and mozzarella instead of Gorgonzola. Despite all these fundamental additions to the dish, people had no trouble telling that this was very clearly an Italian dish. The rich, spicy aroma of a well-seasoned casserole was often the highlight of church potlucks, and Jubilee jambalaya casserole was no exception. This baked version of the Louisiana classic brought together rice, sausage, shrimp, and a bold Creole spice blend. It was hearty, flavorful, and had just the right amount of kick to leave everyone asking for the recipe. Jambalaya, with its roots in Spanish, French, and African culinary traditions, became a staple in Southern cooking centuries ago. Its adaptability made it a natural fit for church gatherings in the 1970s. Stretching expensive ingredients like shrimp with affordable staples like rice was economical, and baking it in a casserole dish made it easy to transport and serve to a crowd. Sausage added depth, and the Creole seasoning brought a vibrancy that elevated the dish beyond your average casserole. So why don't we see it much anymore? As jambalaya purists reclaimed the stovetop tradition, the baked casserole version began to lose its charm. Add in the rise of quicker meal solutions, and the labor-intensive nature of the dish didn't fit modern schedules. Few dishes captured the smoky, sweet essence of a church picnic like heavenly honey-glazed chicken wings. Sticky, tender, and bursting with flavor, these wings were a star attraction on many potluck tables, often disappearing before the blessing was finished. Marinated in a blend of honey, soy sauce, garlic, and spices, then grilled to caramelized perfection, these wings struck the perfect balance between sweet and savory, an irresistible combination. Chicken wings, once considered a less desirable cut, gained popularity in the mid-20th century as backyard grilling became a cultural staple. Their versatility made them a favorite for gatherings, easy to handle, universally loved, and adaptable to different flavors. For church picnics, they were a practical choice. Grilling could be done on site, and the wings didn't require utensils, making them ideal for outdoor events. But as time went on, the rise of fast food and ready-made options pushed homemade wing recipes aside. Buffalo-style wings dominated the scene, leaving behind the honey-glazed classics that required a little more time and effort. Additionally, concerns over sticky fingers and the mess factor may have played a role in their decline. 3 stuffed cheese shells have a very long history in American cooking. They have an even more vibrant one in Italian cuisine and tradition, but at least the more important aspects of the cooking styles didn't get lost in translation. Ravioli, tortellini, and cannellini are still more or less exactly what you would use to make 3 stuffed cheese shells. Fun fact, the Italian word for this is conciglione. If you can, try pronouncing that. Stuffed shells were pretty new territory even for them, though it wasn't always popular to have them. Italians themselves seem to think this dish was created thanks to Italian-American cuisine, which had slowly been taking on a shape of its own throughout the United States. Lots of big urban cities like New York, Philadelphia, and Chicago were the first places that immigrants and visitors would flock to. And naturally, with immigrants comes new culture. Lots of places promising authentic Italian food popped up on the busy streets of New York City, and they had a lot to show off. 3 cheese-stuffed shells was a recipe that was right at the front of all this. It made use of not just 3 different kinds of pasta, but also 3 different kinds of cheeses. You had Parmesan, ricotta, and mozzarella, which are pretty amazing combinations to work with when you stuff all of them together in a tiny, dense shell like that. Antipasto skewers are another appetizer that have gotten really popular. They're the definition of Italian sides, and the word antipasto itself comes from the word ante and pastus. The literal translation? Before meal. Whether you have this as an appetizer or a side, it's definitely one of the best ones you'll ever try in both regards. Traditionally, in Italy, this is the first course you start with. In America, it happened to land in our lives right around the time people started serving all kinds of finger foods. The whole trend of convenience food culture would actually spread to all kinds of places and invent new styles of dishes we didn't think were possible, and finger foods were one of them. These bite-sized foods fit perfectly with the kind of side that Antipasto skewers were, and the two went together like butter and toast. Few dishes spark as much curiosity or debate as a gelatin mold. In the 1970s, the Congregation carrot mold combined shredded carrots, crushed pineapple, and orange gelatin into a dish that was both a side and a conversation starter. Sweet, tangy, and slightly crunchy, it blurred the line between salad and dessert, making it a staple at church potlucks where versatility was key. The mid-20th century was the golden age of gelatin-based recipes. With the post-war boom in processed foods, Jell-O became a household name, marketed as the canvas for everything from fruit to vegetables. Carrots and pineapple were a natural pairing, offering a bright color palette and a balance of textures that appealed to adventurous home cooks. The mold's practicality also can't be overlooked. It was easy to make ahead, held its shape on a buffet table, and was affordable for families stretching their budgets. However, as food trends evolved, gelatin molds began to feel outdated. Fresh salads and lighter fare gained popularity, while the sugary sweet combination of carrots and Jell-O started to seem like a culinary relic. For those who remember it, though, this dish evokes a time when creativity reigned supreme and no potluck table was complete without a molded masterpiece. In the heart of the South, where hospitality is a way of life, Dixie caviar was a dish that embodied community and resourcefulness. This colorful medley of black-eyed peas, bell peppers, onions, and tomatoes, all tossed in a tangy vinaigrette, earned its nickname for being the poor man's caviar. It was simple yet bold, and its vibrant flavors were a reflection of Southern ingenuity, turning pantry staples into something worth celebrating. The dish was practical in every sense. Black-eyed peas, long a symbol of good luck in Southern culture, were inexpensive and packed with protein, making them a staple in home kitchens. The fresh vegetables added crunch and color, while the tangy dressing brought it all together. Served with tortilla chips or crackers, Dixie caviar could function as an appetizer, side dish, or even a light meal. And its make-ahead nature meant it could be prepared the day before, allowing the flavors to meld beautifully. But as convenience foods and pre-packaged dips grew in popularity, dishes like Dixie caviar began to fade. It also suffered from the misconception of being too simple in a world increasingly drawn to elaborate recipes. So, triple mash with horseradish breadcrumbs is a bit of a funny combination. It's definitely the kind of flavor you would always expect out of a cookbook right out of the middle of the 20th century. The triple mash here is also pretty much just a sign of the times. You take 3 distinctly different vegetables, such as potatoes, and 2 other root ones. Now this could be parsnips, turnips, or whatever else gets you going. All you gotta do is just boil and steam them after, and then, once they're soft enough, turn all of that into a mash. The vegetables actually make an extremely flavorful meal. As true as that is, the real star of this show is the horseradish breadcrumbs. This topping helps add a much-needed crunch factor to dishes, which we all know goes lovely with any kind of potato food. Then you throw in some aromatics and herbs. It's actually one of the best side dishes to serve if you're looking to spice up your potluck, and it's a tried and tested variant that you can't really go wrong with. Plus, the horseradish dips work great around Christmas because it can go with so much more besides just the mash too. In the days when nothing went to waste, a pot of slow-cooked beans with hog jowls and onions was a way of life. Rooted in Southern cooking traditions, this hearty meal was a staple at church potlucks and community gatherings. Pinto beans, rich in protein and fiber, were an affordable way to feed a crowd, while hog jowls, a cut from the cheek of the pig, added smoky, savory depth that transformed the humble legume into something extraordinary. Historically, this dish thrived in communities where resourcefulness was key. Hog jowls, often considered a byproduct, were a favorite in Southern cuisine, where the whole hog philosophy reigned supreme. Combined with onions and slow cooking, the result was a dish that was simple yet deeply flavorful. And let's not forget the practicality. Beans are inexpensive, shelf-stable, and could simmer all day while the cook tackled other tasks. But as modern tastes shifted, hog jowls fell out of favor. Health trends, coupled with the rise of leaner meats, left this dish behind in the dust of culinary history. Convenience foods like canned beans and pre-seasoned mixes didn't help either. In the golden era of church picnics and potluck dinners, warm breadsticks were often a highlight of the meal, and none were more beloved than Hallelujah honey butter breadsticks. These soft, golden sticks of bread were brushed with a generous layer of honey butter and finished with a dusting of cinnamon. Sweet, buttery, and lightly spiced, they were the perfect combination of dessert and side dish, a treat that appealed to kids and adults alike. The practicality of these breadsticks made them a picnic favorite. They could be made ahead of time, reheated quickly, and served in large batches, ensuring there was enough for the crowd. Their versatility also added to their charm. They could be paired with coffee for an after-meal treat, served alongside savory dishes, or enjoyed all on their own. And let's not forget their portability, a major plus for outdoor gatherings. So why have these heavenly breadsticks become a rarity? As baking shortcuts like store-bought rolls gained popularity, labor-intensive homemade breadsticks fell out of favor. Health-conscious trends didn't help either, as buttery, carb-heavy recipes were pushed aside for lighter alternatives. Few aromas could fill a church kitchen quite like freshly baked dinner rolls. Soft, buttery, and served warm, these rolls were a symbol of homemade care and hospitality. Devotion dinner rolls were the kind of recipe passed down through families, often scrawled on flour-dusted recipe cards and perfected over decades of Sunday suppers and holiday feasts. Homemade bread has deep roots in American culinary history, long before mass-produced loaves became the norm. In the 1970s, scratch-made dinner rolls still held their place on church tables, reflecting a time when baking bread was both an act of love and a nod to tradition. With simple, affordable ingredients like flour, yeast, and butter, these rolls were versatile enough to accompany anything from soups to pot roast, making them a must-have at potlucks. So why are they now more a memory than a staple? Blame the rise of convenience foods. The introduction of prepackaged rolls and frozen bread dough offered busy cooks a shortcut that didn't involve kneading or proofing. And while nothing quite compares to the taste of homemade, time-consuming recipes often took a backseat as modern life sped up. During the heyday of church picnics, the fellowship hall often doubled as a proving ground for comfort food creativity. One such creation was a warm, gooey dish that stole the show every time it appeared on the table. A blend of melted cheddar, sweet corn, and creamy ingredients baked to bubbly perfection, this dip embodied everything a crowd pleaser should be: indulgent, shareable, and impossible to resist. Cheddar corn dip transformed canned or fresh corn into a culinary centerpiece, and its simplicity was part of its charm. The ingredients were affordable and readily available, and the recipe could be customized to suit any taste. Add a pinch of spice for heat, or serve it with an assortment of chips and crackers. The possibilities were endless. It also had the rare advantage of being just as good lukewarm as it was fresh out of the oven, making it ideal for long picnic afternoons. So why don't we see this dish anymore? Blame it on changing tastes and the popularity of less labor-intensive store-bought dips. In a world where convenience reigns, the chapel cheddar corn dip has taken a back seat. But for those who remember its rich, cheesy goodness, it remains a delicious symbol of community gatherings and the joy of sharing a dish made with love. Sauerkraut is one of the most famous examples of Germans and Americans finding a perfect middle ground. It's one of those marriages of culture, flavors, and taste palettes that just manages to work for almost everyone. Back in the day, it was one of the biggest must-haves at potlucks, and regions with a strong European presence or active German communities couldn't get enough of it. Sauerkraut was known for two things. It was a roller coaster of different kinds of meats, cheeses, and potatoes. 2, it was filling, more than anything you could put in front of it for comparison. Two people on their own just weren't ever able to complete this casserole on their own. Lots of people think that it became such a crowd pleaser because of its roots as a dish made in rural areas. It was pretty much built to survive harsh winters. There's also the way it's really affordable. It takes basic things and simple crops to make one really good casserole that you can pretty much make whenever you would like. You can prepare the dish and put it in the fridge. You could transport that to wherever you're going, take it along with you and bake it there. You could also just bake it later, whenever you feel comfortable enough to. For lots of utility reasons, as well as a flavor profile you wouldn't find anywhere else, this German dish really made a name for itself here. In the 1970s, dips reigned supreme at church potlucks and family gatherings, and few were as delightfully quirky as dill pickle dip. A creamy blend of sour cream, cream cheese, and finely chopped dill pickles, this tangy appetizer offered bold flavor with minimal effort. Whether served with crackers, chips, or vegetable sticks, it was an unexpected crowd pleaser that stood out among more traditional offerings. This dish emerged during an era when convenience and creativity defined home cooking. Dill pickles had been a staple in American pantries since the early 20th century, and combining them with creamy bases like sour cream or cream cheese was an innovative way to transform basic ingredients into something new. It was practical too, easy to whip up, affordable, and well-suited for large gatherings. So, what happened to this retro favorite? As culinary trends evolved, so did dips. Flashier, more complex recipes featuring exotic ingredients like artichokes and sun-dried tomatoes became the new standard, leaving humble dill pickle dip behind. And for those with pickier palates, the sharp, briny flavor wasn't always a hit. Dill pickle dip evokes nostalgia for an era when recipes were shared on index cards, and the measure of a good potluck dish was how quickly it disappeared. In the 1960s and 1970s, as convenience foods and chilled dishes grew in popularity, cold pasta salads became a staple at church picnics. Savior's shrimp pasta salad was one of the more elegant options, combining tender shrimp, crunchy celery, and a creamy dill dressing. Tossed with perfectly cooked pasta, it offered a sophisticated twist on the typical potluck fare, adding a touch of coastal charm to even the most landlocked gatherings. This salad excelled in versatility. It could be adapted to fit the occasion, with small tweaks like adding fresh herbs, chopped vegetables, or even a splash of lemon for brightness. Its creamy dill dressing was a crowd pleaser that complemented the sweetness of the shrimp and the subtle flavor of the pasta. The dish also traveled well, making it perfect for outdoor events where refrigeration might be minimal. So, why did this elegant creation fade from our tables? The answer lies in changing dietary habits and the growing availability of pre-made seafood salads in grocery stores. Over time, many home cooks opted for simpler, less time-consuming alternatives. Additionally, as food safety awareness increased, dishes featuring seafood became less common at room temperature events. Oxtail stew has a pretty celebrated and deep history, and I really want to take you through all of it. Globally, it's always been at the forefront of African, Caribbean, and Nigerian cultures. Oxtail itself refers to the tail of the cattle, which was one of the cheapest kinds of meat you could buy. It was typically always used for stews because of the amount of collagen in it. You'd slow cook this bad boy for hours until you got a dish that was literally bursting with flavor. Caribbean and West African cooking both have different takes on it that they've introduced into the wider scope of American food. Basically, during the Great Migration around the 20th century, lots of Africans started coming to bustling cities with traffic and waves of immigrants. That, of course, meant that there were loads of people who had to be cooked for now, and oxtail stew was a dish that understood that assignment better than anything else. It became extremely common for people to bring oxtail stew to the family potluck in the 1950s and even further, especially as it became a big part of soul food and Southern culture. Even today, it's a pretty well-known part of African American culture in America, and you'd be pretty hard-pressed to find someone who hasn't tried it. Steamed puddings might sound old-fashioned today, but in the 1970s, dishes like Faithful Fig Pudding carried the weight of centuries-old traditions. Made with dried figs, molasses, and a blend of warming spices, This dessert was a nod to the rich culinary heritage of European settlers. It was dense, aromatic, and perfect for church gatherings, where a hearty dessert could double as a centerpiece. Historically, steamed puddings were practical creations. Long before ovens became common household appliances, steaming was a reliable way to prepare desserts, particularly during the winter months when ovens were occupied with other dishes. Dried figs and molasses were staples in American pantries, thanks to their long shelf life and affordability. Combined with spices like cinnamon and nutmeg, they created a dessert that was rich in flavor and relatively inexpensive to prepare. Despite its deep roots, fig pudding began to fade as tastes shifted toward lighter, quicker-to-make desserts. The lengthy steaming process required patience, a virtue many modern cooks didn't have time for. This one's a full-on mouthful to say, and it's definitely just as filling to eat. Try it with me, and let's go slow here. Chicken pozole verde with cilantro chimichurri. Doesn't really roll off the tongue quite naturally, does it? I think it's the verde and the chimichurri. There must have been a better name for this dish. Either way, that just goes to show how many different kinds of things are at work here. Pozole itself is a really beloved cultural Mexican soup that goes all the way back to pre-Columbian times. The dish was apparently something that the Aztecs came up with as a part of ritual food. It even comes from the Nahuatl language, which means hominy, since that's the base of the soup. It was pretty common to make it with pork. The verde aspect comes from the tomatillos, coriander, and chilies that are used. Typically, it's recommended to use pork, but Americans decided to popularize chicken as the default for this recipe. On the other hand, you have your cilantro chimichurri. This is a really vibrant herb-based sauce that helps balance out all of those strong flavors into something more manageable. All in all, you get a pretty wonderful dish to eat right after your main course, and it's perfect for ending the dinner on a high note. That wraps it up for today's list of church classics. Let us know what your favorite was, and if you'll be trying any of these fantastic dishes from the past.